Welcome to another episode of the Last of the Action Heroes podcast. I'm one of the hosts. I'm one of the hosts, Ryan, and with me today is Katie from the One More Round podcast and returning guest host to the network. You're almost a part of the network now, Jared. Jared from the, oh boy, podcasting in the 25th century, hyperspace something, right? Did I get that?
The hyperspace podcasting in the 25th century.
One of these days,
it's okay.
The good news is I do link your show in every show note. So regardless of how much I bungle it up, you're plugged accordingly.
I appreciate that. You do a great job, Ryan.
Do I do a great job plugging you?
Perfect. Maybe not perfect, but good enough.
All right, well, let's get right down to it. People are going to see the title of this episode, and they're going to see that we're talking about Top Gun. We are going to be talking about Top Gun, the first film, and Top Gun Maverick, or the sequel. And however you guys, this is like a roundtable discussion. You guys can talk about any parts of the film you want to talk about. I think there's a lot to talk about, but there's 100 podcasts, probably thousands out there. If you just Google or do your search on podcasts, you'll see there's probably hundreds of movie review episodes of Top Gun. And I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel or say we're going to do something better or worse. I don't know, but saying beat by beat the story beats of the movies, I just kind of want to talk about Top Gun and what it meant for 2022, the first film, our memories of the first film when we saw it. Our expectations going into the second film, what we felt after we watched the second film, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, because I don't know how we can say that was a really cool jet sequence because that's the whole films. I don't know. Okay, so what do you got? So let's go in chronological order then. So let's start with the first film, Top Gun. Let's start with you, Katie. When was the first time you saw Top Gun?
I actually don't recall. So the movie came out in 1986. So I don't know. I probably saw it sometime in the 80s, but I really don't remember. So I did rewatch the movie this week in preparation for today. So I remember it very fondly. I will get into later how now as an adult watching the original, the 1986, I'm like, not so sure about Maverick. Hot take, perhaps, but
okay. We'll get there. Yeah. Okay. So you just saw Top Gun recently. Okay, and you don't recall the first time you saw it. Do you recall maybe how long it'd been before your rewatch of Top Gun to the first time you saw it?
A long time. Many years, decades probably. I do remember it fondly, though. What about you? Was this like a big movie for you?
Okay, we'll go with me next. Sure. I was born in 1975, so I was 11 when Top Gun came out. So I was right at that age where, of course, it was the movie, right? This was a huge movie in 86 when it came out. It was big box office. In fact, I'm doing the inflation calculation right now. So the movie in 1986 made $357 like $1 million. So 357 is a good box office now, right? But in 86 to now, $824 million at the box office.
Okay.
So the reason why I do the inflation calculator, and I think this is really important, and here's a little trivia. I'm about to sneeze, so I'm like trying to delay the sneeze. Oh, yeah, boy. That will be edited.
Bless you.
Oh, thank you.
Gesundheit.
Thank you. Do you guys know what the number one box office movie of all time is?
Are you adjusting for inflation?
The reason why we have to adjust for inflation is because basically you're adjusting for tickets sold.
That's tickets sold.
Tickets sold. Yeah. Okay, that's why it's important to adjust for inflation. So
I think I know the answer.
So which film has the
Gone with the Wind?
That's right. Gone with the Wind. Yeah, Gone with the Wind is still the number one box office film of all time. Better than Avatar, better than all the Marvel. Okay. So it has sold the most tickets. I was going to guess Avatar. It has sold the most tickets, which had the same amount of people saw that film today, it would be the box office blowout of all time, which is actually a film I haven't seen yet, if you can believe it.
What? That's fair. I mean, a lot of those, like I watched, as an example, I watched Citizen Kane somewhat recently, and I'm like, what is this? This sucks. But I'm just not smart enough for it. Yeah, I did not like it.
Okay.
I haven't seen Citizen
Fair
Kane
enough.
yet.
Fair enough.
I haven't seen Citizen Kane. I
I do like a lot of other classics. Just Citizen Kane was held in such high regard that I'm like, what's all this? What's all the hubbub about? Sorry, Jared.
That's okay. It's not my favorite, but I liked it.
I haven't seen Citizen Kane, and I haven't seen Casablanca. Boy,
Oh, that's good.
What?
Casablanca's good.
There's just a few people in our chat are just making shock faces at me. I'm sorry about that, guys. Okay,
Well,
so
the only reason you have it's because Stallone doesn't star in any of
how
those.
dare you? Can you imagine Casablanca? Yeah,
I did manage in my notes. So I was like, wrote down notes as I was watching these because I don't know them like I know the Rocky movies, for example. So I just to remember. And I surely found a way to find some connections to the Rocky movies.
Well, I look forward to hearing that. Okay, so box office was huge. So big box office success. And it didn't cost very much to make. It was like, even in today's money, it was about $30 or $40 million. Not even that. So it made that's a huge. So Top Gun Maverick did very well, but it was a little bit more expensive. Top Gun, the first film, there's a lot of jet sequences and stuff. When you watch the first film, you realize just how little it was. Okay, we'll get to it. I'm going too far ahead. Okay, so box office, great. Directed by the great Tony Scott. Jared, what's your feeling on Tony Scott, the director?
Tony Scott. The other films that I like of his, Man on Fire and True Romance.
Yes.
Yes. Tony Scott was True Romance?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. One of my favorite all-time movies.
Yeah. And, I think I'm not really, I couldn't, just knock off his filmography off the top of my head. But those three movies, Top Gun and the other two, I think he's talented. Brother of Ridley Scott.
That's right. So
here's brother.
Here's some of his movies that are quite good. I mean, he's got Top Gun, followed by Beverly Hills Cop Part 2.
Okay.
Revenge with Kevin Costner, which is actually a very good thriller-type film. Days of Thunder.
Oh, yes, that's right.
So he worked with Tom again. The Last Boy Scout with Bruce Willis. True Romance. Crimson Tide.
Oh, that's right.
The Fan, which was fun. Enemy of the State with Will Smith. Spy Game. I believe that was with Redford and Brad Pitt. Man on Fire, which is a very unsung, great action film with Denzel again.
Yeah.
Domino was pretty good. Keira Knightley, I believe, was in that.
Yes.
Deja Vu again with Denzel. The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 was at Denzel and John Travolta. Or which one was that? There was 2 Train. Unstoppable, I believe, was Chris, one of the Chris's, and the A-Team. Do you remember how he passed away?
He committed suicide.
He jumped off the bridge. I believe it was the bridge. Wasn't the Golden Gate?
I don't know. It's pretty grisly. And
in 2012, I just on Tony Scott. Apologies for jumping around a little bit. For the new movie, for the 2022 Top Gun Maverick, his brother Ridley was offered. They asked him if he wanted to direct, but it's not his jam. It wasn't he opted not to, and provided some names. But I was reading that Tom and Tony Scott were working on a sequel before Tony passed away.
That's right. Those are solid films. There's not any one of those films is an actual clunker or stinker. Those are all enjoyable. He never made like his brother. He wasn't going after these, these. I wouldn't say artsy is the right word, but really it was a little bit more of an auteur, like Gladiator. Though it's a very action kind of packed. It was more dramatic and the big. And I love Gladiator, but really was more of an auteur and just kind of more grandiose. And Tony was a little bit more just. Kind of just those fun little action beats, but True Romance alone, I mean, you could directing that film alone is your legacy, right? But then you did Top Gun, which is just huge. So, okay, now I believe going back to Top Gun, of course, we'll talk about that for the first half. Now, Tom was fairly young in this film. I can't remember what he was, 20-something. Now, I believe he was pre-Scientology. I think was Top Gun his last film to be normal. Was this his last film?
I'm not certain.
Being normal.
I'm not certain.
I think it was. I think he was actually getting into it during Top Gun.
And it's the elephant in the room, and I want to talk about it because here's the thing. Now, I don't know if this is a hot take or what this is. It's a complicated issue. It's very complicated because I think at the end of the day, all religion, this is the viewpoints of Ryan are not the viewpoints of the Last of the Action Heroes podcast. They're my own. Because we have people in our network who are hosts that are religious. You know, they're faithful to whatever faith they're in. But I believe overall that religion is not only unnecessary, but it can be very hurtful. So I believe you can be a good person without any deity telling you. I'm agnostic / atheist. I don't know, like, meaning I live my life the best way I can, and to my fellow man and to my family, without any hope of reward or fear of hell. I just think it's just a good way to be. Just be good. Be the best you can.
I love that.
Okay.
Very well said, and I could not agree more. I would just like to point out that many would argue now the line between religion and
spirituality,
cult is pretty fine in a lot of cases, and I think many would argue that Scientology is not a religion, so to speak. It has tax benefits.
Yes,
technically it is so that they can get the tax benefits.
So what I'm getting at, this is what I'm getting at, because I'm saying this for all things, whether you're Jewish, Scientologist, Christian, Catholic, whatever. So I'm talking about art and actors, because they all too as humans come from different backgrounds. So I don't. I can't think of an. I'm trying to think of an artist that's religious. And look at Chris Pratt. He's very openly Christian, and he does. And I follow him on Facebook. I like him. He's very, but I don't say I'm not going to watch his movies because he's a Christian, or he spouts Christianity. That's his belief, and it seems like it's good for him, and it makes him happy. Great, he's not hurting anyone in the process. The tricky part with that is Christianity, as we know, with the Spanish, Spanish Inquisitions and invasions. And Christianity, in the name of Christianity, there have been wars. In the name of Muslim, there have been wars. And now in Scientology, they've hurt people. There's been real damage and psychological damage, physical damage. Like, the religion has hurt people. Now, Tom is a part of that organization. I don't think he's hurting people. I could be wrong, but he has to be aware of, David Miscavige is an absolute a-hole, and it's such a...
Well, they're one and the same. They're like co-leaders of it, so it is tough. It's tough to talk about.
It is tough, and why I think it's worth talking about, and that's just one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast with you guys, because I think you're both reasonable people, and that we could have a discussion, but we could also talk about the elephant in the room. Because what I'm getting at is I freaking love Tom Cruise films, and I think he's amazing in his work. I name me his films, from Edge of Tomorrow to Oblivion to the Mission Impossible franchise. These are amazing, and he seems to be hardworking, charismatic. People that work with him like him. Nobody has anything bad to say about Tom Cruise on the set. He's the last one.
But you can't. They can't. There are reasons why people can't.
Well, but how much of that is controlled? There's a lot of people with. And I'm not defending Tom, but
sure.
I'm wondering. This is where it gets hard for me because he's part of an organization that I actually think is dangerous, and they abuse their powers. We know that. There's been enough evidence to verify that. But then he himself as a person seems pretty. My confirmation, or sorry, my cognitive dissonance is happening, where I see the individual, then I see his product, and I hear talk about him, of how he is, and people that meet him and talk to him, and then anyway. So what are your guys? I've said a lot here. So I love him as an actor, and I love him in these films, but then I'm always kind of like, I wish he wasn't a freaking Scientologist. It bugs me that he's a part of this. Okay, sorry.
Like Stallone, so I'll try and be as diplomatic as possible because it's touchy. But while I think there's a lot of control and power involved in people not saying things, I do think, like Stallone, many people would be open about that he is really dedicated to his craft and has a really strong work ethic. And one of these movies I liked more than the other.
Sure.
And it, I guess, is a testament to not just him, but everybody involved in the movie. that it's good that it sort of allows us to forget that huge flaw in my, so I guess that's a pro on my side. I'll try not to say too much, but it's a pretty big flaw. Yeah.
Jared, how do you rectify the two?
Well, I live in Clearwater, Florida.
Oh,
and if you know anything about Scientology,
that's the Vatican of Scientology.
It is. Right downtown, 4 miles from my house, is the giant flag building.
So this is where Jared tells us he's a Scientologist, and now we're in trouble.
Wouldn't that be funny?
Now we're in trouble. He's going to send people out.
May I recommend some tapes for you all?
Here's
less than a mile from my house is a group of converted apartments where the people who work for Scientology that's where they are. That's where they live, because they have signed their life over to this. So Scientology houses, feeds them. They transport them on buses downtown every single day. I see it on a daily basis. They have buses in Clearwater that are only that are Scientology buses, and they say flag on the side of them because that's the name of one of their organizations, and it's a crazy. I mean, in general, they're very quiet. They're not distributing literature throughout the almost 20 years I've lived in this house. They've only left one book on my doorstep, and that was a lot of churches do that.
Proselytes call their door to door. Jehovah's Witnesses.
But I also it's interesting to me personally because of where I live, and of course I watch the Leah Remini show, and my neighborhood is on the Leah Remini show in several shots. Like
no way.
Every time they were here in Clearwater, I'd be like, "Hey, I get gas at that gas station." I'd see places that I knew on that show, and
it was a great show. We watched it too. Yeah.
And Mike Rinder, who was I just finished listening to his audiobook. And he lives here in Clearwater, and I think I shop at the same Publix that he does. But he has some Tom Cruise stories
on the book. In the book,
yes,
save it because actually, I want to read that.
I would recommend anybody who wants to read that or listen to it on Audible, do so because it is juicy.
Oh,
it's
wow,
juicier than a T-bone steak.
I'm going to do that right after this episode. So thank you for that recommendation.
I would just say, Mr. Cruise is probably not as squeaky clean as his image would present. Remember, he did a few movies with Steven Spielberg in the early 2000s, War of the Worlds, Minority Report.
Yep, that's right. Great.
And then they never worked together again. Yeah. And there is reasons for that. And they are detailed in the book.
Okay. Well, I've heard some stories because I read a biography.
He was a little aggressive in trying to get Mr. Spielberg to
that
sign
story
up.
I knew. That's right. That story I knew. He actually had a lot of Scientologist people on the set, made the crew uncomfortable. I did hear about that. Yes. Yeah.
And he was also kind of openly critical that Spielberg, a couple of his children were in therapy.
That's right.
Oh, they're very against that, aren't they?
And you do not send children to psychiatrists.
Anyone, right? Like psychiatry is not a thing.
Anybody. It's it's completely verboten. And anyway, so yes, I too find myself in the same cognitive dissonance as Ryan.
Yeah. Because
he is a hell of a movie star. He is probably one of the last true movie stars still making movies, like who can still pack them in, with this charisma. I mean, he's one of the last few people you can say, I'm going to go see that Tom Cruise movie. Yep. Because, nobody's saying, I'm going to go see that Matt Damon movie or that Ben Affleck movie or that whoever the flavor of the month is anymore.
Sylvester Stallone.
Well, even he doesn't pack it in per se. If
Perhaps.
Biased, can you tell?
no, I know I'm the
Sure.
same way. I got you. Okay, well these are okay. I think we've don't want to bore our listeners too much, and I hope we haven't. But I think it's important that we kind of just we know, we're aware,
Relevant,
we
yeah.
understand. But now let's get back to the film. So again, I think this was the last major box office film that Tom Cruise was in when he was quote unquote not in Scientology. Okay. So some of the cast in this film, of course, we got Tom Cruise who plays Lieutenant, or sorry, that's my Canadian Navy. Sorry, Lieutenant Pete Maverick.
You say lieutenant?
It's Lieutenant, yeah, in the Navy here up in Canada. Yeah,
What? Lieutenant?
yeah.
That's how
Oh, I
it's
didn't know
pronounced.
that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Sorry, it just slipped out.
British people do that too.
Lieutenant Pete Maverick Mitchell. He's a U.S. Navy pilot, of course. Now, did you know this character was loosely based on a guy named Duke Cunningham?
I did not.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, there you go. And it had some of his accomplishments during the Vietnam War. I didn't look into it, but I suspect the idea that he's a maverick, does his own thing, gets the job done type thing. And then we have the lovely Kelly McGillis as Charlie, or Charlotte Blackwood. She's the instructor of the Top Gun and Maverick's love interest. So now, Kelly looked fantastic in this film. And have you guys seen what she... Sorry, I mean... So
I have not, but I haven't. I was going to ask why. I did read that she didn't want to do the sequel. She seems to have a little animosity. I'm not sure if that's the right word towards. She had absolutely zero interest in being part of the sequel.
Sure.
And she wasn't shy about stating why.
Okay, so she was 20, if you can believe it, in this film. She was born in 57. This came out in 86, quick math. So she was born in 56. So she was 29 in this film. So she looked great. She was, but unfortunately, Tom aged a little bit better than Kelly.
Yes.
And I don't know how, Tom is about what, I know this film came out, Maverick came out a couple years late because of COVID and all that stuff, and they waited and they did the right thing.
It was filmed in 18.
Yeah, so he was like 53.
He was in his late. No, he was in his late 50s.
No, I think he's only 56 now.
56.
No, he's 60 now.
Oh, he is 60. You're right, Jared.
He was 56, I think, at the time of filming.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, that works.
Okay, so Kelly McGillis right now is 65, so that's fair. I mean, she's 5 years older than Tom now, and Tom. So Kelly would have been 61. But anyway, so I mean, Tom looks
doesn't look great.
Well, no, she looks like Aunt Bertha came over for turkey dinner.
I have a terrible story about that, and that's when I was with my buddies. We were seeing Maverick in the theater. We were waiting on concessions, and my friend was like, "I haven't heard about Kelly McGillis being in this movie," and I was like, "No, I don't think she's in it." And then so he goes, "Let's see," and he does a quick Google search, and he goes, "Oh, that's why."
Yeah.
Well, she had a sobriety issue, so that I think that's
Yes.
maybe hard on your body too. And
Possibly.
let's face it, Tom has unlimited funds to do, and I don't think he drinks or does drugs or anything.
But I
So-
understand. I don't drink or do drugs, and I don't have unlimited funds. You just take care of yourself by taking care of yourself. It doesn't cost a lot of money to not eat that bag of Doritos, but
Well, it does cost a lot of money to have work.
of course,
do all the treatments and stuff. Sure.
He has the. I love how he's not allowed to take his kids to therapy, but he's allowed to have cosmetic surgery. I know. It's kind of hypocritical. Anyways, of course, Val Kilmer was in this. Now, as we go through the cast, we can talk about parts of the film. So I'm just going through the cast, but we could talk about things that you enjoyed about any of these scenes from these actors, or sort of their characters in the film. So Kelly looked great. And my favorite scene with Kelly in the film as Charlie was when she was wearing that baseball hat in the elevator. I just thought she looked sexy as F, as they say.
Well,
when she's wearing the baseball hat, and you know why she was wearing the baseball hat, right? Did you guys catch that? She was filming a different film. They had to come back for a reshoot, and her hair was a different color or length.
Oh,
so
funny.
So they put her in this hat for this elevator sequence, and I just thought it was hot. I thought this looked great, but it was a reshoot, but her hair was wrong.
Oh, funny.
interesting.
Yeah.
Good tidbit.
Yeah, a little tidbit. What are your thoughts on her character? Do you want to talk about her character in general? Her being the civilian expert?
When I revisited this movie, I mean, recently, it struck me that she seems, even though she isn't, she seems a lot older than Maverick, and it really felt like there was some kind of, hot for teacher thing going on with him, because he seems so much younger, and that didn't register when I was a kid when I watched this, but growing up, being much older now, that really struck me that, oh man, this is really kind of it's like she's almost she's robbing the cradle a little bit.
Yeah, it's
but
weird.
I mean, even though the age difference is not that huge, it's still it's the student, hopping on the teacher.
It's a trope in movies that seemingly never gets old, though, and so it was recreated in the sequel as well. The idea that you go out to a bar, you sleep with or almost sleep with, or have something happens with someone that you don't know yet. It will be revealed in the morning is your boss, your boss's wife or husband or your teacher or whoever. And so that's kind of what it is. He's supposed to be what, like 25, 26?
So no, yeah. If you're going by his age as an actor, like Tom's she was 24, because he's 5 years younger than her. She's 29.
That's tracks.
Yeah.
And of course, another trope, like he's supposed to be this womanizer, but of course, he's tamed by someone who's so special, her. She did seem quite a bit older. Obviously, she was the instructor. My thought was that she's teaching and around all these super testosterone-y, very good-looking men in uniform on the regular, and she's never. This is the first time this has ever happened. I don't buy it.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, she does seem older, and I'm surprised she was only 29. In fact, I didn't know she was 29 until I Googled it with talking to you guys. I thought she might have been 34 or something. But she looked great, but I guess she's looks maybe a little bit older than her age, or they try to make her look older with her business suits or whatever. And Tom was, but yeah, so there's still a 5-year difference. She's pushing 30. He's in his young 20s. Sure, fair enough.
Can I just say that this is the most graphic sex scene in a PG-rated movie ever filmed?
Yes, you can't say this.
Now, okay, Jared, on that, I noticed, I thought it was super hot and steamy. It was so well done. I don't think it was graphic. It was hot because it was silhouettes it was like their shadows. It wasn't, it didn't actually show anything.
Well, I was thinking hot. More of the tongue and the strings of saliva that clearly, and I'm like, what?
This has happened before. I don't know what the deal was. Maybe you guys know about the rating system in the 80s was very different than it seemingly is now, because you could do quite a bit seemingly in a PG movie.
PG. Yeah, you could even drop like an F-bomb in a PG back in the day. But I would just say when I saw this for the first time, it was on home video, and I watched it with my dad. And this was the most and I was like 11 years old. And this was like the most uncomfortable, 2 minutes of my life, sitting there. And my dad's like,
"That's so
okay, son." And I'm just like, "Oh, what do I do? Do I look at the ground? I don't."
They tease it for a while. They really try to build up that sexual tension.
Yeah. Okay. So funny story.
And with the music.
Yes.
Take my breath away.
That's right. Okay. So I haven't seen the movie. I didn't say this. So I saw the film originally back when it came out when I was 11, 12 years old, and I remember being a kid thinking, "Holy smokes, am I watching an adult film or whatever?" Again, there was no internet back then. I didn't know what adult films were, but I felt uncomfortable too as a kid.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know if I've seen this film since then. That's the thing. Top Gun's one of those films where, again, we're mentioned at the beginning of this episode, I haven't seen like Casablanca or Citizen Kane, but I feel like I have, because it's so talked about, so many scenes. I already know that Rosemary is the wagon or whatever. I don't even know what that means, but I know these things. You know what I mean? I feel like it's in the pulp cultural talk and discussion for years that I feel like I've seen Top Gun numerous times. But I don't know if I have since I was a kid. So I rewatched it, but I remember there was this love scene. And I knew it was like this oddly, I remember even as a kid, this was an oddly very erotic love scene for a PG film. And I was watching it with my kids. So I was watching on Paramount Plus with my family. And so when it came to the love scene, I just told my kids, okay, just turn your eyes. I skipped it. Because it's unnecessary. You don't have to watch it. They were like, biting each other's lips and tweaking each other's
the
nipples,
tongues
Yeah.
going into the mouth.
Yeah, it's just like
I enjoyed it because it was.
well,
it
you're a
wasn't-
woman. They're 8-year-old twins, and my 10.
Oh, I know. But you said it was unnecessary. Like, I thought you were saying it was unnecessary to the story, and I'm like, I think it was.
No, but for my kids, because they were totally into the film. They actually loved the first film too. Like, it was fun to watch it with them being young, no CGI. They've been raised on Star Wars and Marvel films, so I wasn't too sure. But they were into the whole film, and they wanted. Now they're Tom Cruise fans. Here's the thing. Funny enough, they are like, we want to watch Tom Cruise films. They are fascinated by Tom Cruise now. So we started the Mission Impossible films, and we're on the fourth one. They keep asking me every day, can we watch the next one? Can we watch the next one? Like, holy smokes. So we're actually going through the series together as a family because they want to watch the new ones that are coming out. Dead Reckoning or something that's coming out in the theaters. Yeah. So they're fascinated by Tom Cruise. They don't know any of the stuff. And so it's kind of fun to watch them enjoy Tom Cruise just being the actor without any of the garbage behind it. And that's what probably Tom would want, this younger generation just being unaware of everything. But that's what he's providing. He's providing entertainment for kids and for families, and it's working. But it's just interesting to watch. This is the one thing about having kids. Of course, Jared knows this. Katie, you're barren, so you can't have kids. But
I am not. It is
I'm sorry.
Chosen.
Oh, my apologies.
It is a chosen route.
Oh, my apologies.
I would like to clarify. I choose it.
Oh, that's
That's
embarrassing. I apologize, Jared.
Oh my gosh.
But anyways, Jared, you understand what it's like to watch films with your kids, to see that joy through their eyes, the films that we enjoyed when we were kids?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So anyways, they enjoyed the first Top Gun films, what I'm getting at, despite the lack of CGI. And what are your thoughts about revisiting the film in general? Like, your expectations? Or, Jared, I forgot to ask you, how many times I feel like you may have seen the film more than us between its release and now?
Yeah. It was a movie I had on VHS as a kid, and it was in pretty heavy rotation in my house. It was one, I would go to, on a weekend. I just pop it in, and, I was super into G.I. Joe, and I would, fly my plane around and pretend I was Maverick and all that stuff. And, it was definitely like a staple of my childhood. But there was a period of about 20 years where I didn't see it at all. And then when I heard they were bringing Maverick out, I went out and bought the 4K and watched it again. And it's I think Katie said earlier, one of these movies is definitely better than the other one. And Top Gun, it has perhaps aged poorly in many respects. It's I think what I carry with me is the nostalgia, and that's something I can enjoy about it, and I can overlook a lot of sins because it's just something that's always been there for me. Mm-hmm. But I actually did a funny experiment. My friend Charlie, he wanted to see Maverick, and he's like 42 years old, but he'd never seen Top Gun. So we got tickets to see Maverick, and the morning before we went to the theater, we watched Top Gun at my house. Because and he was watching the movie. He's like, I don't even know what this movie's about. Like, what is this movie about? And I was like, well, you're just kind of marking times between the dogfight sequences in many respects, because there's not really there's this name. This is true of part 2 as well. There's this nameless enemy that's out there. You don't really know what they're doing. They shouldn't be doing it, but he wasn't. I wouldn't say he was a Top Gun fan when he finished watching it, but he did really like part 2 because I think part 2 corrects a lot of the flaws of the first, and we can get 100%. Into that in a little bit. Yeah, mm-hmm. But the first movie is really kind of a collection of things that's not really cohesive when you look at it as a whole picture. Mm-hmm. It's a collection of things that happen, montages, and it's the the glue that holds it together isn't really strong.
It's so 80s, over the top 80s. I mean, that to your point about nostalgia, and so you can overlook a lot of things. I think those are. I mean, that's why it's a fun movie. The unnamed enemy. Like, there's not a war at this time going on. It's a little. Doesn't really explain a lot of that. I did want to ask Ryan about something that I was a little. This is just my ignorance about the military.
Okay.
So they're in the Navy.
Yes.
Not the Air Force.
Right.
And so as a Canadian Navyman, can you explain to the American why, explain the U.S. military to me. I sort of thought Air Force was planes, Navy was boats. Is it that they're flying in and off of
I think
boats?
so. I think the fact that they're – see, this is my ignorance too a little bit. I did work at a naval air base for 4 years, American Air Base, with my – I basically deal with underwater warfare. So I deal with submarines. That's my that's what I deal with. So I deal with submarine warfare, which is, of course, Navy, obviously. There's not very many submarines in the desert. But that being said, I did work at a Naval Air Force base, and you're right. The Air Force is air, and I think the two are together. I think I'm not too sure how it works, but because I know pilots in Canada, we don't have a lot of aircraft at all, but I know all the pilots here in Canada are Air Force. That's my understanding. So but we don't have aircraft carriers, so there might be a reason because it's an aircraft carrier, and that might be a specific trade, or that's what we call, or what do you call it in the Navy? I'm sorry, not Navy, but American Navy. We don't call it trades. We call it that's our job or trade,
like a specialty.
But they call it something different in the American military. Anyways, their job, and so because they go on and off the aircraft carriers, that's a specific skill that guys that are just landing on runways. It's a different way to land, right? Landing on an aircraft carrier.
Yeah, I did notice. That was kind of a cool... I did enjoy those sequences.
So I'm sure someone will send us an email or just let us know in the comments. But that would be my guess, is because they're Navy, because they're specifically flying on and off aircrafts. Naval aircrafts. And because, one last thing, so because they're on the aircraft, they live on the aircraft carrier. Because they're on aircraft carriers, they live on the ship. Think about it. The ship as they're moving... That's their place of employment. So they would have to be Navy, because when you're in the Navy, this much I do know, that's your place of employment is the boat, the ship. So they would have to know how to firefight on the ship. They would have to know all the things. They're sailor first. So even though they're flying off the vessel, they're still sailors when they're not flying. So they would have to know how to be a sailor on the ship.
That does make sense. I've just always been confused because there's not like concrete lines. Like seemingly all four branches do all the things. So, so I've always been confused about that. But that does make sense. It's the carrier, and that's a different set of skills.
Yeah, that's right. That's my guess.
The pilots are called naval aviators.
Got it.
In the Navy, and it looks like Christina in the chat has some. She was married to a guy who was stationed on an aircraft carrier. So she's got some info there.
Yeah, we'll just ignore her. Okay, so
no, that's what nice back knowledge. That's I know nothing about the military, so apologies.
So I think I was so I think I'm a little bit right about that. I could be wrong, but that would be my understanding. So her dad was Navy, her ex was Navy, but again, American and. The reason why America's a little bit different than Canada is because you guys have more toys and more – like we don't have aircraft carriers. So everyone that flies in Canada is Air Force. That's their element.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so we're basically way better than you.
Yeah, well, you are. U.S. is the number one nation in the world. You guys are the pinnacle of freedom, medical care, education.
You're right.
You've got the homeless thing figured out. You've got racism is ended.
Listen, Ryan, we have aircraft carriers.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
That's it.
Okay.
And we have Maverick naval aviators that completely disregard the lives of their partners, the amount of money that they just crash at will. Like, I'm going to be risky, I'm going to be irresponsible, and I keep getting rewarded for it. It drove me nuts. I'm sorry. Maverick was not the most likable character in this movie.
Okay,
In the first movie.
Let's talk about this because rewatching the film for the first time, I get to say 30 years. Rewatching it, front to back as an adult, like now that's the thing, and I'm full grown, so to speak. I think I've stopped growing at this point. I think I'm shrinking now. To be honest, I think honestly,
I totally am. I'm shorter.
No, I'm shorter than I used to be as a teenager.
Yeah.
I think that's proven.
It's a thing.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so yeah. Guess what? Newsflash: Val Kilmer's Iceman. He's not a prick.
Exactly. Oh my God, I had the same. I recalled him being like and maybe it's just the hair and his smugness.
Maybe
that I assumed he was
that
like
one
that
scene where he does that
80s.
he does that teeth. He does his teeth thing at Maverick. That one, he bites Maverick. But that was it.
Oh, he's the voice of reason.
Yes.
If I were to pick, would you guys, if you had to go into combat, who would you pick, Maverick or Iceman?
And that's the difference between watching this movie as an adult and watching it as a 12-year-old kid. Mm-hmm. Because you think Maverick's the cool one. And you're like, yeah, Maverick, F that guy. Well, do whatever you want. But as you grow up, you're like, no, Kazansky he's like the rule follower, and he's a genuinely talented pilot, and
he's also still a badass.
Well, yeah, but as a kid, Iceman is talking like your parents talk to you. And as a kid, you don't want to hear that crap. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, listen, you're dangerous. The way you fly, you're going to get people hurt and killed.
Yeah.
You need to calm down. You need to stop acting like a jackass. And but as a kid, you're like, screw that, man. Maverick's where it's at.
It's so true. And it's like the scene. I was really clearly annoyed at Maverick watching the whole first movie because I kept being like, you just promised Goose. Like, his life depends on you. And he said, please, in different words, but please cut it out. I need this job. I have a family. Yeah. Please stop this BS. I promise. And he goes ahead and does it like immediately afterwards.
So how cool is Val Kilmer then? How cool is Val Kilmer in general, though?
Super cool. He's not for me, I never talk about Val Kilmer, but peak Val Kilmer in this movie too.
Yeah, he looked great. He looked fantastic. Have you seen that documentary that's on, I think it's on Prime?
Yes.
Called Kilmer? Is it called Val? Is it what it's called again? Val or Kilmer?
It's called Val.
Val, yeah. Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Excellent.
It's
because he has throat cancer. Is that what it's about, or
and
everything?
Well,
his son.
It's about his career. And it's about his struggles after he gets the cancer, and some parts of it are really hard to watch.
Yeah,
just like him at the conventions and stuff, where he has to stop and go vomit into a trash can and then come back out and sign more autographs. It's like, and he's doing that because he's broke, because he doesn't have any money left.
And and he also loves his fans, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's
a great documentary. Definitely check it out.
Yeah,
what's it on?
Prime.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very well done, very good. And his son does the narration, in Val's voice, it's Val's words, but his son
sounds just like him.
His son sounds
really.
Yeah,
okay.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah. Okay, so I love Val Kilmer. I'm a huge Val Kilmer fan, of course. Willow as Mad Morgan. I love Val Kilmer. His work in Tombstone alone as Doc Holliday is. It's literally Tombstone is my top 5, maybe my top 3 film of all time. I freaking love it. Oh yeah, I saw that film.
I'll have to give it a watch. I'm sure I've seen it whenever it came out.
You may have.
It's a great Val Kilmer performance.
Yeah, and Kurt Russell's in it. Yes,
I love Kurt Russell.
I think
I've probably seen it. Yeah, I'm sure I've seen it once.
Yeah,
it's a great Western.
I saw that movie in the theater 6 or 7 times. I'm not even joking. I loved this so much, I would take my friends or family to it, and I would buy their tickets. You have to see this film. I would take them. Yeah. Yeah, I was just, I was a teenager at the time, at expendable cash, but I was like, just come. I'll take you to the film. You got to see this film. Oh, yeah, I loved it. Okay. Back in, this was before reaction channels, you know what I mean? I would go there to see their reactions to the film, because I just, they all loved it. Yeah. Okay, of course, so Anthony Edwards of ER fame, but I believe this was pre-ER, just before, a few years before its debut. playing
Quite a few
Goose.
years before,
yeah, I
right?
guess a few years. Yeah, it was late 80s, early 90s that ER came out. We talked about ER, haven't we, Katie?
ER,
Yeah, I think it was into the 90s when it
it was
started.
93 at the debut.
Okay, 7 years before. Wow, okay.
He had a super sweet stash.
Yeah, he's such a great actor. Did you watch ER?
Yeah.
I love that show. I was a ER watcher, and Anthony Edwards is fantastic. Great as Goose. And his death, it's still hard to watch in this film.
To be honest with you, don't really understand how he died. What happened?
The window above him didn't quite open, so he just broke his neck and head on it.
He smashed into the canopy because when you eject, it's like
pushes you
almost
hard.
rocket propelled, and he smashed into the.
It didn't pop quite open.
And he smashed into the canopy and killed himself.
Yeah. Yeah, so
he was the one thing I noted, because this is this is a little bit of like technical military jargon. So there's the driver at this time for this movie, the planes, the fighter planes the Tomcat,
F-14 Tomcats.
Yes. There's the driver. So I didn't ever know this before. So Tom Cruise, there's always like a duo, a driver and a Rio
pilot,
which they say driver.
Oh, did I miss that?
Literally, they say driver in the movie.
Okay, that must be jargon for that. Okay.
And then, so it's radio. So the person in the back, I didn't know that they don't do anything with flying. They're just there for like the communications and the radar and stuff.
The radar intercept officer.
That's right.
Which, yes, the Rio. Because I had to look it up. I'm like, what's a Rio?
Yeah.
And now, and I think in the new movie, it's not called the Rio anymore. It's the Wizzo. Weapons.
Okay.
I wasn't a big fan of his rap albums.
Oh.
They call WSO, but it's like pronounced Wizzo, I guess. I looked it up.
And
Weapons Systems Operator.
In the first movie, everybody's in Tomcats, and they're all Tomcats are two-seaters.
Okay.
In the new movie, they're flying in F-18 Super Hornets. And not all F-18s are two-seaters. Some of them,
I was going to ask you that.
Some of them are two-seaters with the weapons officer, but some of them are just single-seaters. And that's like, in the movie, Maverick only flies
single,
the one-seater. Yeah.
I wondered that. That was something that I'm still a little bit confused about, because the whole purpose of the person behind, like, that role is elsewhere. Like, who's playing that role now? Like, if there's not a person behind you telling you this, that, and the other,
well,
is it the command center? Is it because the other two, it looks like there's like a team of 4, 2 one-seaters and 2 two-seaters. Mm-hmm. So I was a little confused about that.
Well, because in the second film, the mission they were carrying out required because the two-seater and the one-seater, they were paired together. Like, it was Maverick, and then it was like Fanboy and Coyote or somebody. And they had to get the laser lock on that target. That's what the weapons officer was doing. And
they're in a different plane.
Yes,
right?
But they feed that info to Maverick's plane, and he drops the bomb. So basically, one plane is just the guy's just chauffeuring the weapons officer. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know why they need to divide that into 2 aircraft, because it seems to me like you could just put the bombs on the one aircraft. But I don't know. But that's kind of why they did it like that in the second movie. Because the weapons officer had to get the laser lock on the target. But when it came to Rooster's thing, like, the laser lock didn't work, and he just had to eyeball it, but he still, he hit his mark. So
I know this is a bit of jumping around. Thank you. That was helpful.
Yes.
Speaking of Rooster and Goose, that's cute, right? Goose, and then Goose's son is Rooster.
Yes, adorbs.
Adorbs, right? But Rooster's a flyer, a driver. He's not a WSO, as his dad was.
Right.
Correct.
Well, there's a scene about that in the sequel. But one of the best things about the sequel was, I think the casting was superb in every way. Like, everybody was really well cast, especially Rooster.
Miles Teller.
Miles Teller, who I was like, God, why does he look familiar? Do you guys watch The Offer? About
no, it's in my queue. It's my ever-growing queue. I've heard it's good.
He plays Al Ruddy. Okay. That's where I knew him from. Okay. He's in a number of other things, but I thought he had a very strong resemblance with his stash too to Anthony Edwards' Goose, and even their mannerisms and personality. Right. So I thought that was really well done.
We're going to get to the sequel shortly. We are going to get to it because we're going to wrap up Top Gun shortly here. But before we do, I just want to say one other thing about Top Gun. Yeah, we got the love scene. Yep. The one last thing that Top Gun that struck me was rewatching after 3 decades. I think I started to talk about it, but then I got sidetracked. Was just how little footage we actually got because of the time and the budget of actual jets in the air. And we got some, but what we got was pretty cool. And I was actually surprised how much outside of the jet footage we got with the, I guess, cameras on the side of the jet. I thought it was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But it was the old Star Wars in the cockpit. So I love, and this was important because with the sequel, as we know, there's a big trivia with the sequel, Maverick, the difference. But yes, with the first film, it's just them bopping around and this, look over their shoulders, it's just blue around them. They're just on the ground and there's no air shots. So this what got amped up, of course, for the sequel, which is not a mystery for everybody. But I was surprised about how little. I've forgotten not how little, but there was. Yeah, I was like, there's not very much aerial stuff. It's a little bit less than I thought there was going to be. I thought there was more. Oh. But I mean, really? Well, I guess I know they were in the cockpit a lot, but some of the jet shots almost seemed stock footage compared to today's cinematography and budgets. But this is 86. It was a low budget film. I think people forget the first film was a low budget film. It was only $17 million at the time, which is like $45 million today. So that's a huge profit. It's almost surprising they didn't make a sequel right away.
I did read that maybe it was Tom. I think it was Tom Cruise said he didn't. Only later when he was probably talking with Tony Scott or something. But originally he said leave it there. It doesn't need one. It's resolved. It's packaged in a bow, and it was packaged with a bow at the end.
I think Top Gun is one of those movies, though. It's like every 5 years you heard like something about, they're going to be making Top Gun 2, and throughout the 90s, I remember hearing about it, and and through the early 2000s, it's just one of those things that just popped up every now and then. Like whenever you do a Mission Impossible, someone would ask about, hey, would you like to do a Top Gun sequel? It's like, yeah, we have some ideas, I think, but it's, it's one of those sequels that was super long time coming.
So speaking of that, let's roll into the sequel, because when this was announced and they were filming it, what was your expectations? Were you like, you got to be kidding me? This is going to be a disaster. Were you excited? What are your feelings overall? We'll start with you, Jared, then we'll go to you, Katie.
Well, I've absolutely never to bet against Tom Cruise. Because as we talked about earlier, his movies, most of them are consistently entertaining, and in the past few years, like you were talking about with like Edge of Tomorrow and Oblivion and the Mission Impossible movies, he's a solid performer. And I thought, with today's technology, what they can do now, another Top Gun movie would be bonkers. And when I saw the first trailer and I heard about what they were doing with, there's no green screen, there's no CGI. And I was like, holy crap, that's pretty impressive. So I was looking forward to it.
Yeah, the CGI, the flights were all flights, and the actors were. Now, what's your understanding of? No, Tom, we know, flies for real. Did you know that was his personal jet that we see in the film that he flies? That's his own jet.
You mean that prop plane?
He flies his own jet.
The test one? Like the test plane at the beginning?
Whichever. No, I know, not that stealth bomber thing. He has his own jet. He flew. I don't know what kind of jet it is, so I apologize. A better podcaster would know this kind of stuff, but I don't know the actual make or model of his jet. But he owns the jet that was in the film, and he flew it to work.
Oh my God, really?
Yes.
I don't think he owns an F-18 Super Hornet. I don't think he's
That would
allowed
be
to own that.
No, whichever
billions.
one is. Maybe Christine in our chat who has access to Google. I can't Google on the computer because I'm recording, but I'm 99% sure that he owns a jet that was used in the film, whatever shots he may or may not be. I don't know, because there's a scene where he takes off on the aircraft carrier.
Yes,
that's him flying off the aircraft carrier.
No, it's not.
It's not.
He's sitting in the back seat of a Super Hornet.
I thought he flew in the film. I thought there was some flying that he did in the film.
The Navy would never let him take off because he did take off of a carrier, but he's sitting in the back seat and he's pantomiming.
Okay. Did they not have the actor? I thought the actors went to flight school and they got some sort of licenses. I thought there was some sort of what did
all the actors you see are sitting in the back seat of the Hornet. And there's a camera rig placed behind the pilot, and but it looks like they're flying because, I mean, you see everything behind them. But if you were to turn the camera around, you would see a pilot in front of them.
Okay. Well, Christina's verifying something. Like she said here, she's in our chat, so she can do some Googling. She goes, she saw some things too that said he was flying, but she's going to look into that.
He flies that prop plane at the end of the movie with Jennifer Connelly.
Oh,
that's his plane.
Oh, that's maybe what you thought, Ryan.
Oh.
That's and she's flying with him, and she said that she was quite nervous to fly with him, but insurance signed off on it, and so the shots of him flying the plane at the end of the movie, but it's that like Mustang, that old prop plane.
My apologies. So maybe that's what I heard. So that's what he did fly, because they made it very clear he's flying this thing with Jennifer. He made that they filmed it in such a way that there's no CGI. That's Tom fly. Okay, correct. So but he flew that to work is what I'm saying. He would fly that to from work. Okay.
That
so
makes
sense. He's going broke, is what you're saying, Brian.
Well, that's the thing about Tom. Is what I love about him but what's cool. That being said, okay, that makes more sense. Okay, that does make more sense. But what's cool though is what I'm getting at, that they're on these jets. Yes, I understand they're not. I understand they're not flying military jets.
You see their faces like contort, and that's real.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Is the actors were all in the air. Doing this stuff. So all the air shots, there's no trickery here. The actors had to do their lines and everything in the air.
The only part it's a trick.
Okay.
And I'll tell you this.
Yeah, please.
Is when you see I think it's either what was the female pilot's name?
Well, keep going. I'll find it for you. Keep going.
Okay.
Phoenix.
Oh, okay. Phoenix and Bob. Occasionally, you see both of them in the same shot. Yep. That's on a simulator rig because there's two of them. There's no room for like a real pilot in that shot.
Got it.
But every time you're seeing a single actor in a cockpit, that they are in the air, and that's real.
Which makes I have a few things I want to come back to that I did before we completely close the book on the 1986 original movie.
We're going back.
There are a few things that get called. I just want to just touch on a couple of things that get called back to.
Okay, of course.
For the purposes of the callback. So we did not talk about the gem that is Tom Skerritt.
Yeah, I know. You're right.
I love him. I love friggin' Tom Skerritt as Viper. So So we get called. So the relationship there is
great actor.
Tom Cruise's dad also dies, or Maverick's dad goes missing. It's classified. He doesn't know what happens. Tom Skerritt tells him. So they have this father-son relationship, and we'll see that. Also, isn't it his daughter that Jennifer Connelly plays? Isn't that who?
That's different. No, because
sure?
Did you? But yes, did you know that Penny gets name dropped in the first movie?
Yes, and that's why I thought it was his daughter.
No, because
am I mistaking something?
No, it's a different admiral.
Right.
Because he said, and one admiral's daughter, and then Goose is like Penny Benjamin.
Yes.
And then Maverick kind of shrugs. So Penny Benjamin gets name dropped in part one.
Wow.
She's not technically a new character, but
wow, that's
I thought it was Viper's daughter. It wasn't. It was somebody else's.
it was somebody else's
Different.
daughter.
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
So there's that,
I was going to
and
say
then the volleyball scene wearing
yes.
jeans. Volleyball beach scene.
Wearing
It gets
jeans.
called back to, but wearing jeans.
That just looks terribly uncomfortable.
But they do it in the new movie too.
Yes.
Even worse because they're wet.
Oh, they're
Yeah,
wet.
they're on the
Football
beach.
in
They're not the only
water,
ones.
yeah.
They're not the only ones wet watching that. I'll tell you that. Yeah,
Oh, boy.
this is a true sequel. That's what I love about this film. In many ways, I give credit to this film being such a delayed sort of sequel. 30 years later, it's a legit sequel. They make it very clear that you could watch these films, and I did see these back to back. I saw Top Gun and then Top Gun Maverick back to back, or one day, then the next day we watched the sequel.
Same.
And so they're really a good bookend type films. It also goes to show you that you can do films as a sequel without losing or even gaining. Many people, I know, despite what Katie's hinted at here, many people believe that Maverick's a better film. In many ways, it is a better film. Like, it's a better, obviously, the sequences, the fighting, the jets. I mean, that's better. You can't say Top Gun, the first film, has better jet sequences. So maybe what you're saying, Katie, I get what you're saying. You have two different camps here. You got the camp of the action beats in Top Gun Maverick. You can't say they're worse than the action beats of Top Gun, the first film.
Well, that's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And then, or you could argue. What I'm saying is, maybe you could, or somebody could, but I would have to. That'd be a hard pill for me to swallow, for you to make the point that the Top Gun first film action sequences are better than the Maverick. Like the jet sequences we see in the second film are just incredible. Like they blew me away. I'm not even a vehicle guy. Cars don't excite me. Jets don't excite me. Those things don't thrill me. But even I was like, this is intense. We did a whole family viewing of Top Gun Maverick. My wife she doesn't even watch action movies. She watched the whole thing. She was stressed out at the end. She was like, everyone was. My daughter, who was 8 years old, everyone was stressed out, and it was great because that's what the film's supposed to do. Mm-hmm. Okay, but then I think maybe the drama or the storylines or the acting in the first film was better than the second film. You could argue that. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm getting at. So it depends what side of the camp. How is this film important to you as a viewer? Do you like the drama? Do you like the characters? Or do you like the action beats?
Well,
what's more important to you?
Quality, enjoyment versus quality.
Sure.
Perhaps that's what the argument is. I mean, according to IMDb, now, I did. So there's a lot of, I actually noticed 1,000 things, callbacks, similarities. It is beat for beat the first movie. Like, they followed the formula exactly.
So like Star Wars and Force Awakens?
Don't know. That's a reference I don't know.
Jared would know.
We'll get there.
Okay.
I have things to say.
Okay, please.
It is beat for beat, like literally beat for beat. The interplay, like the interpersonal relationships, the action, like you're at school and then there's some real threat that needs to be addressed, this, that, and the other. Like I don't want Iceman saying he doesn't want Maverick to go with him. That just sets it up for Maverick to come to the rescue. The same things happens in similar, it is literally following the formula of the first movie, but it's better. It's tighter. The script it's better done. It's more believable, but it doesn't lose any of the fun. Like all the young bucks, like that, their interplay is so fun. And I think the casting is top notch. It's just, I do find the second movie to be a higher quality movie. I mean, it should be, because its budget, Top Gun Maverick had a budget of over $150 million. And that's what the total global gross global gross for the first movie. So the budget of the second movie was the same as the total amount of revenue generated of the first movie. Like, that's insane. So it should be better.
Yeah, it made
IMDb
$1.5 billion. So that's still a good profit.
The gross.
So that's a good profit.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It was. According to the IMDb ratings, I want to get your guys' take on this.
Sure.
And this might be out of place, but let's see. It was the first movie was 6.9.
69,
rating.
Sweet.
Out of 10. Do you guys know what the second movie was?
Let me guess, and I don't. I haven't looked it up. So
8.7 out of 10.
You're going 8.7. I'm going to go.
But that's pretty high.
This is from. Well, now you've given me a hint.
I have.
6.9. I think people love this, but I got a hot take. I got a feeling the critics might be higher than the audience. So I'm going to go with 7.3 from IMDb voters.
Okay. It was 8.3.
Oh, okay.
Which is super high.
Yeah, it's great. It's solid. And that includes people that includes people who always vote things one. There's always those people. It's one.
Sure.
You know, the Tom Cruise haters. There's always those people like no movie's one. Stop it. Maybe Troll 2 is one. You can't say Top Gun Maverick's one. But you go look at those. You'll see people calling it one. That's impossible. It's impossible.
No.
Okay. Anyway,
they're trollers.
Yeah.
So I do think that there is some bias built into the rating system to newer movies, just by nature of the system. Older movies. So as an example, Rocky, the Academy Award-winning Rocky, was 8.1. I'm pretty sure Rocky's a better movie than Maverick Top Gun.
Sure, that's fair. I got it. I understand what you're saying. But you have to keep in mind, a lot of people are voting today. I don't know how many people are thinking.
That's what I'm saying. That there's some built-in bias to a newer movie. And so I was like, well, what are the top... I was curious then, looking at these ratings. So what did anybody get a 10? The highest rated movies ever is a 9.2.
Shawshank or Godfather 2.
The Godfather and Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
Those are the only two movies that have a 9.2 on IMDb anyway.
Yeah,
that's the highest.
Interesting.
Okay. So, yeah, I know everyone I've talked to. In fact, Katie, you might be the most, I would say negative, because you're not being negative, but you're almost kind of leaning towards the first Top Gun film. So I guess the question...
No, I am not. I think the second one is better.
Oh, I thought...
Quality, absolutely the second one is
apologies.
better.
Okay.
It fixed, as Jared pointed out, but I'm saying it should be because it had so much more money.
Okay.
And it still had all the fun pieces of the first one. They just made it everything is just a little bit better. It's more, it's tighter. The cast is better. Like the music, I even think, this is probably a hot take, but I think the soundtrack's better. Hans Zimmer was added. Maverick is less of a selfish a-hole. He's matured in the 30 years. So he's a more likable character, in my opinion, than he was in the first one. I do think that the second movie is better. I was not excited I don't dislike Top Gun, but it's not in my top 20 movies. So I didn't really care about the second movie coming out, but everybody, not one person that I've spoken to did not recommend it. So
it's funny. You and I are very similar. If you were to ask me, well, I'm very similar. Maybe there's a reason I hadn't seen the film since it came out. I actually, if you were to ask me a year ago, let's just say, or 3 years ago, before even this sequel was being filmed, or whatever the timeline. Boy, 5 years ago, time is so weird now. My feelings of Top Gun, I've been like, I hate it. I don't like it. I like Tom Cruise. I would say Top Gun is my least favorite Tom Cruise film of the Tom Cruisey films. It's actually my least favorite. It might still be one of my least favorites. I will never watch it again. I only rewatched it because of Maverick and because I wanted to show my kids the first film, and so I wanted to see how it translated again after. Now, I did enjoy it more than I remembered I thought I should have. I know it's kind of a weird... I went in it with an absolute bias, but this bias was created when I was a kid. I didn't enjoy it as a kid. Again, I'm not a vehicle guy. So as a kid, I missed a lot of the drama beats. And then as a kid, I was like, okay, there's a bunch of flying things. Because this, to me, was like trying to be like Star Wars on Earth, and it wasn't the same. Star Wars gets to be Star Wars in space, but these jets flying around... Zoom, zoom, close call, zoom, zoom. I was like, okay. Even as a kid, I was like, ugh, I don't get the drama here. Now, watching it as an adult, I got a little bit better. It was the human interactions that interest me more. I found myself surprised by Iceman, so I found myself enjoying it more, kind of a retro reaction to myself, like, oh, Iceman's not a dick, Maverick's a bit of a dick. Kelly McGillis is actually really quite hot. I remember thinking she wasn't very pretty, but now as an adult, she looked very attractive to me as an adult now. So
it's the hairstyles in the 80s. Meg Ryan had terrible hair, too.
Yeah, Meg Ryan. We forgot about Meg Ryan. It's weird. Was she not a big actress then in '86? It's just because she had such a small role. It's odd to see her such a very...
That was
Harry Met Sally.
Was that a big break?
That was like 88.
Oh, okay.
89.
I just thought she was like a Goldie Hawn. I thought she was just always kind of big. I didn't realize there was, even in '86, that she wasn't Meg Ryan in '86.
She wasn't like a superstar yet.
Oh, yeah. She didn't have a repeat in this one either. Yeah, I don't know.
Her character died.
Yeah, conveniently died. Yeah. Okay, so I did enjoy it better than I thought. So I don't think it's quote unquote the worst Tom Cruise film per se, but I found myself surprised about, Maverick is a bit of a, and so the Maverick character, and I think that of course Tom would recognize this because he's older and wiser. His character's not like that in Maverick. He's not a dick.
It's a little bit. I mean, he still has a little bit of it, but you know what I mean?
Yep, he's a little bit more personable. He's great with, like, he's a great guy to Jennifer Connelly's character. He's actually a really great guy. Like you
can tell that they've got history.
They had history. They had history between the 30 years. But I thought I thought he was better. I liked the character better, like in the sense of he seemed to be grown.
40 years, I would hope so.
When he jumps out the window after they have their little lovemaking, which as much as I love Jennifer Connelly, I think I would have no problem seeing her naked. There are some films where she is, which I've enjoyed. But anyways,
she looks good in this movie too.
She looks fantastic. She's 50. Really she's like 50 something. Anyways, I think she's 50 something.
Early 50s, I think. Yeah. At the time of filming.
Yeah, and so the scene where he jumps out the window and the daughter sees him jump out the window, I thought that was. Tom Cruise is a great actor, but it's a great sequence of, and she says, "Just don't hurt her again." And his facial reaction to that, it's like you could tell he's growing, that he knows he doesn't want to. He's looking for it at the end of the film. All that stuff was really nice. I enjoyed those moments. And there was no part of me that thought he was I'm going to try to bed this woman type. He was actually cared about her, that the sleeping with her moment wasn't like a conquest. It was, he cared for her. So those were good things. And their whole relationship was done really nicely. Her on the bike and their relationship. There was no, what I liked about it, there was no, what I enjoyed about the storyline about the
excessive saliva.
Well, yeah, no, but there was no I wouldn't say conflict's the right word. There wasn't any big drama, falling in, falling out. It was just a relationship. Yeah. It just was, and they had history. They're working on it. It was all smooth and calm. It wasn't like hallmarky. It was just nice. I actually it wasn't a distraction. It was actually, it added to the film without being a distraction. I don't know if I'm wording that right, but
no, I noted that too. Just like the sex scene, their relationship, everything about him, he's just more mature. I mean, obviously he's had 30 years to grow, but it wasn't. There was nothing. It worked really well, and it showed how relationships could or should be just adult and mature, and none of the nonsense. And he allows the kids. So now Maverick is the Viper character. Maverick is Tom Cruise is now playing Tom Skerritt's character.
Right. That's fair. I like that. I never thought of that, but I get it. Yeah. So let's talk about, of course, now Val Kilmer's. That's a big part of the film. His reappearance as Iceman. I loved how, because at the end of Top Gun, the first film, they hug and they bro it out, which is great. And that relationship continues. And I like that. They make a note of it. They're texting each other. He comes up as Iceman on his phone for texts. And, they're friends, and he trusts. What I love is how Maverick defers to Iceman and trusts him, and there's no animosity that he made Admiral, or there's no jealousy. And Maverick's very comfortable in his position. He likes to teach, or he likes to fly. He wants to fly. That's what he wants. He doesn't want a higher rank, because the one thing I know about the military, let's say, I don't like my job, so if I go higher in rank, the more higher rank I go in my job, the less I'll do my job. It's more administrative stuff. So that's every military. Same with the police force, right? You're either working the beat or you're doing paperwork as a sergeant or whatever as you go higher in rank. So some people just like working the beat. Maverick liked working the beat. He wanted to fly planes. He doesn't want to work behind a desk.
And he was able to continue to do that.
Yes.
Because we find out in the movie, Iceman has been having his back for the past 30 years, and and sort of maybe cleaning up some of his messes.
Yeah, that's what I love. That's what I love about their relationship, was that they truly were there for each other. Iceman, he said, "Hey Maverick, you want to have this kind of life? Sure, man, you're great. We love having it."
The disdain, like with Ed Harris's character.
Oh,
like,
don't you love Ed Harris too? Though I just love him.
And John Hamm too is like, well, if Iceman wasn't around, then you'd be out on the street. So Iceman is definitely his guardian angel through this whole movie, until he's not.
Right. Yeah. So I'm glad Val Kilmer's resting in peace. Oh wait, sorry, Iceman died, not Val. I'm sorry.
That was a great scene.
I was not prepared for that. I really didn't think. I didn't look into anything about, like, I didn't watch previews or anything. So I totally went into the movie cold. But I knew Val Kilmer was in it. But I sort of thought he was going to be, I didn't think they were going to kill him.
No, and I'm glad they used him the way they did because of his health and the way he speaks. They can't use it, but it was a perfect amount of his character is in the film. And it's felt throughout the film, and it's not done in a we better bring Val in. It was a real honor to Val as an actor. And I love how they kept him. They made that relationship so real and palatable. And when Tom is a great actor. When he does that scene with Val, it's so intimate, and he's like crying almost. I can't remember. Did he cry or get close to it?
He got choked up.
Yeah. It was this fantastic moment of acting by Tom. And again, the Academy and the Golden Globes, which was just on the other day, the time of this recording, I think yesterday, the time of this recording.
Oh, I missed that completely.
Well, so does everyone because nobody cares anymore. But what I'm getting at is that they'll miss this. They'll say, it's a Tom Cruise film. It's Tom Cruise. He's a Scientologist. And he gets punished. This is the problem with his art gets punished by critics to some degree because of who he is outside of them. And I know this is the problem. And because I see, or even if he was atheist or Christian, he still gets punished, or these type of films, I should say, get punished because it's an action film, so to speak, or it's got these beats. And you can't act good in these, and he does. These are moments that feel like if this was a drama without any jets, that's a great acting scene with this guy talking to his mentor, but it's bypassed by all the acting accolades. I think this is incredible acting by Tom in his career, and it elevates the film. And critics, here's the irony. I say this: it is a well-loved film with critics and fans, but the award people will not award his acting.
Yeah.
That is a really good point. I think you've almost twisted my arm a little bit because I would never have put this up as like an Academy Award nominee. Like, it's just not that type of film.
It was nominated for Best Picture for a Golden Globe.
Yes, it was.
Okay. Yeah. So I didn't realize, but you, in the same way that these don't get attention, typically don't get attention either. So that's a really good point. I think it's that. I don't think it has anything to do with his like Scientology or anything. But I think in the same way that nobody takes Sylvester Stallone seriously because of the type of movie that he tends to take.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Okay. Please.
Sorry.
No, I want to talk about Val. Val still. So
yes.
Yeah, okay.
That's probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Yes.
Actually.
Yes.
And it shows Val. He has a presence in that scene. Like, when he points at the monitor when he types in, I want to talk about work, and then Maverick brushes him off, and he like just points at it, and it's really great that they kind of worked his condition into the story. Maverick has that short scene with his wife where she's like, "It's come back," and it's not they're not giving you a whole lot of information, but enough.
He's sick.
She's like, there's nothing they can do. Speaking, he can't even speak now, and they comes in and he's coughing. So you get all the information you need, but as an audience, we know Val Kilmer has had throat cancer. But it was just a great way to include him.
It was done perfectly. They perfectly balanced the real life condition of Val Kilmer, the actor, making that a storyline within the film, allowing Val to be in the film because he's just not getting acting roles anymore. This might be his last one, right? Where he is able to play to the fact this is his condition in a film, and they don't abuse it, if that makes sense. They don't placate us or the audience, but to give Val a chance to be in a film that he's obviously very well known for, to be Iceman. They did a perfect job of a send off to the character, a nod to Val, giving them dignity, showing him some dignity to be in this huge, like. Let's be honest. I hate to say it, but Kelly McGillis was not asked to come back for a couple of reasons. But one, right away, she doesn't look the part. I mean, I hate to say it. They're like, well, if you're a casting director, that's your job. You're like, okay, what do they, whoever they are, what do they? Okay, they don't look like the part. And she can't come back in any way, shape, or form. It's just it doesn't look the part. Aesthetically, audiences don't want to see this. It's just the way it goes. But Val is beaten up because his condition has beaten him up physically, but they were able to give him this opportunity to be Iceman in such a way that I never felt like, oh, they're really milking this, or it was a perfect balance of everything, and for Team Val, and just to have him do this role, and I thought it was fantastic. One last thing before we move on from Val, the voice that you heard, he does speak as Jared, as you know, because you saw the documentary, you don't understand really what he's saying at all. So that voice part that you hear, even though it sounds like, oh, it's croaky in the movie, it was really worked on. That's a lot of that was computer manipulated because you really can't understand it. Yeah.
I used that AI program they took his voice and read it through a computer and sort of approximated.
Yeah. He sounds like the speak and spell machine.
It was super well done. They had plenty of money, so I'm glad they used it wisely.
Yes.
But Val, I hate to focus on looks, but I thought he looked really good considering.
Same.
Yeah, because
he looked better than I'd seen him in years.
Yeah, because there was a time, I'm not sure what was going on. I don't know much about Val
CGI.
Kilmer.
I don't know. I wonder if they.
Well, he got real puffy for a while. I don't know, in the 90s. I'm not sure if he had a drug problem or something, but he looked bad for a while.
I don't think
cancer aside.
I think I don't. I could be wrong. I don't know.
I don't know. So I don't mean to put that out.
No, that's a fair question.
He looked great.
In
this movie. Yeah. I mean, with his hair done nicely and. Makeup does, does help.
Christina brought up a good point. He does look better than he did in the documentary, so maybe, I can't, but the documentary and this filming was about the same time-ish, so maybe he just got healthier for the film, maybe something happened, maybe the film gave him a bit of life, you could argue, or some sort of boost, Okay.
I mean,
maybe it was CGI, because they can make people young nowadays.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
And, Val himself is not terminal, like he no longer has cancer, but I think
the voice is wrecked forever though.
He's not going to be able to speak normally again. So
he doesn't have your great voice, Jared.
Well, people do, right?
That's true. It's true.
I love
have you
Jared's
done voiceover
voice.
Work? Have you done any voiceover work or commercial? You should if you haven't.
Very limited. Like local crappy stuff,
like our podcast, just crappy stuff.
No, come on.
Give me coming soon to a theater near you.
Coming soon to a theater near you.
That's perfect. I love it.
It's really good. In a world where
in a world where Ryan podcasts about Tom Cruise and not Sylvester Stallone. Here we are, the last of the Action Heroes podcast.
Can you believe such a world exists? That's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I love it. Man, Tom Cruise has so many good films. He deserves his own network. Let's be honest. Okay. We got a Mel Gibson podcast on this network. We should have a Tom Cruise network on this show on this podcast.
That's funny that you say that because nobody's jumping at the chance to do it for some reason. I got to say, in the 80s, Tom Cruise was on top of the world.
Well, he still is with his last film.
Well, I mean,
and the Mission Impossible franchises are nothing to sneeze at. But I know what you're saying. You're right.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, of
by
course.
That.
Yeah. Okay, so if I give you the name Joseph Kosinski, what does that mean to you?
I've heard of him before
this. Of Oblivion and Tron Legacy.
Yeah. So
so it's just not for me.
No. If you were to ask me 2 days ago, I wouldn't have been able to tell you. I'm cheating. I'm googling the director right now because I forgot. So actually, if you're asking me 2 hours ago, I didn't remember his name. But So he did Tron Legacy and Oblivion with Tom. So obviously him and Tom have a good working relationship because there's no way Tom would work with any director that I would say that he can't control. That's not the right, but Tom's the star. He's the producer. He is the Tom's the boss. I don't care what he is the boss on these films. So this is where that control thing comes in. So I'm wondering how much control Joseph may or may not have had. I wonder what your thoughts on that would be.
Well, he has worked with. They have a relationship from Oblivion.
Yeah, which is a decent film, by the way. It's a good film.
Oblivion is a great science fiction movie.
Yeah,
I would say, I would say Tom and Joe are friends. So, however this thing works, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
certainly Joe would not be in charge of this film if Tom did not want him there.
That's right. Yeah. So I don't think Tom's telling them how to direct because Tom Cruise, I don't think he's directed. I think he directed one TV episode of something a long time ago. That's it. He's not a director.
Oh,
he's never.
I knew that.
Yeah, he's never directed anything. So I don't think he wants to be. I don't think he cares. He's a producer galore. Producers are the bosses. They're the bosses of the finances and the hiring, the firings. A producer can fire a director, for example. Like a director can't fire a producer. So the producers are really the boss. So Tom is the boss, but I would suspect he would hire people he can trust. Hire people that
Jerry Bruckheimer also produced both movies, right? Like that was like a commonality.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about more. Do the same thing with the cast. Jennifer Connelly, of course, played Penny, or Penelope Benjamin. Maverick's rekindled love interest. She's that bar owner, and she's the daughter of an admiral. Yeah, she looked fantastic. She is right now. Drum roll, please. She's 52 right now, so she would have been about 48 in the film.
Oh, okay.
Not too badly age appropriate. They're only 8 years apart in age. I'm 8 years apart with my wife right now, so it's the same age difference. So yeah, age appropriate relationship as far as I'm concerned. Because Tom could have easily maybe got a 34-year-old, but Jennifer, boy, she looks great. Boy, oh boy.
Well, she should. She was only 48 at the time. I mean, that's not very old.
No, but there's people younger than that. I know, but there's people younger than that, and I hate to say this, and I know females, I don't know why they do this, but they mess up their face with plastic surgery in their 20s and 30s. Why? 20s and 30s, they do plastic.
PSA, people, don't do it.
Yeah, Katie, you look fantastic, Katie, for 49. You look like if you...
Oh my God, Ryan!
No, I'm saying she looks great. Why is that an insult? I'm saying she looks great. I don't.
Even if I were 49, that's an insult.
I know.
I'm sure everyone knows this, but don't ever tell someone to their face, "You look good for your age."
For the record, Katie's not 49. I'm turning 48 this year, so. Katie, you look fantastic. You always look good.
For 79?
You look great for 79, yes.
Oh, man.
It's okay, Jared. It's okay. You listen to our show. You listen to our One More Round.
It's
I have to put up with men all the time on these.
Yeah, I know. I just feel like, the new kid who's like, oh, this is uncomfortable.
He plays the Kyle role very well.
Yeah, I know. Kyle's always shaking his head at me and is always so worried. When we first, a little side note here, when we first started doing the One More Round podcast about Rocky, Kyle messaged me after a few, I forget what it was, whenever we started doing it as our threesome. And he was worried that you were offended by my jokes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he wasn't trying to be a white knight, but it's fine.
Oh,
yeah, but
that's because Kyle is such a pleasure. He's such a good human that he's trying to
terrible.
be. But I have a very thick skin.
Yeah.
Clearly, otherwise, I don't think I'd be on a podcast with a bunch of dudes all the time.
And I have a rule: I never tease anyone I don't like. That is an absolute rule I have. So, okay. And Jared, I have yet to tease you because I don't like you. Okay, so.
Oh, dang it.
See, that was a tease. See how that works as a tease?
Okay, good. Right, I feel better.
What do you think of John Hamm's acting and character in this film as Vice Admiral Bo Cyclone Simpson?
I mean,
what do you think, Katie?
Listen,
she's about to slide off her chair here. We got.
He's another. All these. There was a conversation on the network about age, and I'm going to bring it up. dudes somehow can be like 60. I don't know. These guys are all in their 50s
he's 51, so he was about 47, 48 in this film as well.
Okay. Yeah. Now, he has an older look to him.
He does. But he's carried it for years. Like, he hasn't aged in 20 years. But, yeah, he's had the same look for 20 years, yeah.
But these men, 50 is like 35, sort of, especially for Hollywood. They look fantastic. John Hamm is, he's that typical handsome, gorgeous, like everything about him. I really don't have. I love John Hamm in it, and he did a really good job. I did also read that he took the role without reading the script. He was like, "I don't care. I'm on board."
Right. That's right. Oh, why wouldn't he? He's got Tom Cruise as Maverick. He wants to be part of that legacy. Good for him. And he plays. He's the Iceman, so to speak, or what we thought was Iceman in the first film. Let me rephrase that. He's the conflict, or he's the one that pushes back. He's the one that, once Iceman passed, he was the one that got to be the dick, so to speak.
There was a character. He is the. I really do. There was a formula, and it is beat for beat. The Iceman in the new movie is Hangman.
That guy. Yeah, that guy was great.
Hangman.
But he was. Yeah, but ironically, he was the Iceman, and we thought, hey, am I not supposed to like this guy? But then again, he was the voice of reason. He was actually the. Yeah. He was great.
There was another part. I don't recall the name of the admiral in the first movie, but John Hamm plays his character, whatever his name is. Yeah, I don't know. He wasn't like a big thing in the first movie, but he's playing that role. Like there's the boardroom, and he's like, I didn't want you. I don't want. Like he is like all the things. You're right though, Ryan. He says a lot of the things that Iceman said in the first movie. Like you are like a risk. To you're not necessarily like adding benefit here, and I don't want you to fly. You're here to teach. I did notice while this movie seems tighter, there was one discrepancy with trying to tie it in from a continuity perspective. We learn at the end of Top Gun, 1986's Top Gun, that Maverick gets his pick of any point, any whatever you call it. He picks to teach at Top Gun Academy or whatever it's called.
Yes.
Then we learn in this movie that it lasted all of 2 weeks or something. He's like, I'm not a teacher. That's not for me. So why did he pick it? I guess like that was. Well, he could have chosen anything.
I think maybe that could be, that's almost like something that might happen in real life. Like you're so sure about something, you're like, I want this. Like a job, and then you work the job for a couple months, and you're like, this sucks.
That's true.
What am I doing?
Talk about Rocky. Let's think about Rocky 2. Remember when Rocky was told by Mick, his trainer, you can't fight, you don't got the tools no more. You got heart, kid. And so and Rocky's like, well, let me just work at the gym. I got to be around it. So maybe this is Maverick's way of just wanting to be around it.
Yeah. But he could have, at age 24, he could have chosen anything, and he chose to anyway. He chose to go teach, and we learn in this movie that that's not for him at all. Yeah.
Also interesting is that I think John Hamm may be playing a little older than he actually is, because it says in the movie he was top of his class in 1988, which would just place him about 2 years younger than Maverick.
Yep, exactly. Good call.
You're right. Yeah. So the actor is younger than Tom, but yeah, there might be some discrepancy. I don't think Tom is as old. Maverick might not be as old as Tom is in the film.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Also, but interesting that they're supposed to be very close in age. Those two characters, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, because he's like, you could or should, or somebody says you could or should be an admiral, like a 2-star admiral by now.
And here you are, captain, and which is, after 30 years, apparently just inconceivable.
It sounds like my job. I never get promoted. People are always like, why are you at this rank? I suck, I guess. I don't know. Okay, well, I mean, like, it goes without saying, there's not much to say regarding the flight sequences are how do you verbalize? Just watch the frickin' film, people. I mean, they're literally, again, I'm not a machine guy, like those things. That's why I don't like the Transformer films and stuff. Machines don't excite me. The whole idea of machines, like unless it's the Terminator, I'm being serious. Like like robots excite me, yeah, sure, to the degree like cyborgs or that kind of movie stuff, but like machinery, like jets, trucks, motorcycles, that stuff doesn't, like car chases are boring in films for me. I don't get excited by that stuff. Some people love it. They love the aesthetics, and I get it. There's a whole fandom. I know there's people that fix up cars. And
after Top Gun, I was buying model kits of F-14s, and I was just like all in on that.
Yeah,
stuff.
and this is what I
started reading up on the Navy.
Oh, we lost. Did you lose him too?
I did.
Okay, we'll just wait for him to come back in.
Boys and their toys.
Yeah, I know. We did. We kicked it. I kicked out Jared. I didn't want to hear what he had to say. I was like, "You stop."
Well, I thought I heard him just now, but
Hello.
Yeah, we hear you. You just got to turn on your camera again. Discord does that.
What happened there?
Discord.
You know
does
what's
that.
funny? Oh, never mind. I was going to say the weirdness that I was experiencing before went away, but no, it's still there. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Oh.
Discord likes to kick people out arbitrarily. It might be me next, so just be ready for it.
Your point about the so I did one of the things it's hard for me to follow. Obviously, I don't know anything about the military. The first movie, I was actually surprised by how well done the sequences were actually for the time for 1986. Obviously, this movie, I did find it easier to follow as a lay person.
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it visually was beautiful, and it was easier to figure out what was going on with the flight action stuff.
Yes. And that's what I wanted to say.
Because,
sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Ryan.
No, I just want to say about the jet stuff. I'll close that bow, and then I want to hear what you have to say regarding how well done it was. Not being a vehicle machinery guy, that's what I mean. Is I loved it. So that just shows you how well done it was. If somebody comes in I could care less about car chases and those things. The aviation work in this film was incredible to watch. It was amazing. So somebody like me who's not that, I wasn't even that interested in the sequel, that when I saw it, I was like, oh, maybe I should have seen this in the theater, so to speak. I waited for it to be on. I have a big screen, a big sound, and all this stuff at home, but still, I watched it and I was like, this is really well done. This is really well done. So that just goes to show you. So I can only imagine people that like jets and stuff are probably just creaming their jeans, because I was highly impressed with this as somebody who doesn't care about that kind of stuff. All right.
Well, the thing about this movie is that unlike the first, where you kind of have this nebulous, villain that's out there, we have a mission, and we are training for that mission through the whole movie.
Yes.
We have to. I mean, it's basically the Death Star, right? We have to fly down this trench, and we have to blow up this thing.
I never even connected that. That is hilarious. It is the Death Star.
But that's what it is. You go down the trench, you drop your bombs, and you get out of there. And that's kind of the forward thrust of this. Whereas at the first movie, they graduate from Top Gun, and all of a sudden, oh crap, there's a couple of MiGs flying around the Indian Ocean. We got to go see what's going on. But here it's no. And interestingly enough, for box office purposes, the enemy remains nameless in this film as well.
Yes.
You can tell who it is visually, don't you think?
Mexico.
Where they are, you mean? Yeah,
yes,
Mexico.
like the environment. You know.
I mean, it's.
But yes, you're right. Yeah.
So, and I thought that was that kind of got you invested as an audience member.
Totally
we see the students trying and failing to do this.
Yeah,
and then Maverick's his big moment is saying, "No, you can do this. Watch, I will show you." And that was one of the best parts of the movie.
Yes.
It's look, the old man can still do this.
Yeah,
that's why that's one of the reasons I love this movie, is because it's so many movies like this, and Top Gun Maverick is part of this new thing that we have called the Legacy sequel.
Sure.
Where old characters are trotted out after many, many years away. They've done it with Star Wars. Even you could probably consider the Creed films this way, and by bringing Rocky back, and they did it with Ghostbusters, last year. And these are not always home runs. Some people are going to have a certain way they feel about a character, and that character they're going to feel is underserved or has been crapped on by the new movie. And I felt that way personally as a Star Wars fan. You know, as a kid of my generation, Luke Skywalker was my hero. And the new movies by Disney essentially came out and painted him as this bitter old craphead. And that, I mean, yes, I get it. It's all fiction. It's a fictional world. But if you're invested in if you're invested in those stories and you've grown up with those stories, you want to see them treated with some respect.
Of course.
And I felt that Maverick, as a character in this movie, he wasn't deconstructed. He wasn't, emasculated. He wasn't shown up by the new generation. He had agency. He was still Maverick, and he still had something to offer.
Great.
And that's what I really loved about this movie, because he could have very easily been made a laughingstock, and the new kids could have taken over. And it's very much like how Stallone treated Rocky in Rocky VI. This is a guy. I'm still here. I still have things to offer, and that's one of the reasons that I really love the second one. So
very well said.
Very well said, and totally agree. In fact, the youth of today, and maybe it's a Western culture thing, really scoff at the elderly, or even people my age.
Yeah.
Like I'm turning 48 in 2023, and I'm viewed, some of my coworkers, they make fun of me. The younger generation will come, "No, you old guy." I'm like, yeah, but we have things to offer. Like we're older, but we have experience. And the young kids, and I say kids, anyone like 30 and under almost nowadays, almost the ageism is real. It's kind of the last thing you're allowed to be discriminatory about is ageism. You're almost allowed to be an ageist. And the people who are older are like, no, we've lived a little bit of life. Maybe we have something to offer. And it's a Western culture thing to be ageist, where other cultures, Asian cultures, respect their elderly. And many other cultures really say, listen, of course, First Nations people or Native Americans, they definitely respect their elders. Like they have a story to tell, they have something to share. And Western culture people, us whiteys, we are pretty bad about that. And I'm sorry, you can learn something from the people who've gone before you. And Maverick, the film, I think, just like you said, Jared, showcases that. Hey, this guy who's been doing this for a long time, kids, this guy who's been doing this for a while and who might be instructing your course might have something to say. Maybe listen up. Now, you're coming with your own strengths and skill sets, absolutely, but maybe you could add those to somebody who's been doing this longer since before you're born.
But I will also say, not to be the old man on his porch shaking his cane, I really love the new characters in this movie, too.
Same.
And they are shown to be absolutely skilled and very good at what they do. And I don't think it's a great movie that can balance those two things. You've got the old, but you also have the new, and it just works.
It's very endearing.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, because Rooster, the story with Rooster and his animosity towards Maverick is also driving this movie to a certain degree. And they have a very touching scene at the end of the film where they finally, it's what my dad would have done. And, my eyes sweat with respect when I saw that in the theater. I was having to, kind of choke back some things because, that's probably one of my favorite parts of the film when Rooster and Maverick finally, get past the thing, all the baggage with Goose, and just have their own relationship.
It becomes a father-son relationship.
Yes.
Because Rooster, there's a lot. I agree. There was a lot of endings I felt with this movie, but just touching quickly on the youth piece of it, it was a fun little twist on the cliche of something happens at the bar the night before, something big, and then, as it turns out, that person is your teacher or your boss or your whatever. In this case, they were ragging on the old man the whole time at the bar. Not cadets, they're Top Guns.
Right, yeah.
Then, then you see them, the scene where he walks in, they're like, oh shit, it's him. This is this guy. And that sequence of him proving that the mission is doable I thought it was extra in that they do explain to us why that is, in that if you're pulling up and you're at a 10 or not, whatever the levels of whatever are, and they have to explain to us lay people why that's such a big deal. It's like you can't think, you can't breathe. It's like having an elephant sit on your chest. Because without that explanation, we wouldn't see why the stakes were so high in a situation like that. So it was also that was really well done.
Yeah, I want to close with, we're near our time here. Again, I just want to reiterate, we can't I'm sure people have already watched the film, they haven't, but so they understand what we're saying. If you haven't seen the film, you're thinking, we haven't spoiled anything. You have to watch the film. You have to see these aerial shots. The acting is incredible. The storyline is very solid. It's not just about the action. How we get there is very solid. The older side characters are wonderfully done, wonderfully acted. They did not dial in any performance, cinematography. Nothing was dialed in. Soundtrack. There's a nod to the old as well. Everything is there. It's a true sequel in every way, shape, or form. Yes, like Jared was saying, it's a sequel / reimagining of the first film, which is just fine. Maybe it's the old saying, the more things change, the more they stay the same. It's the same type of things going on. And being in the military myself, it's kind of true. Like, I've been in for almost 20 years. I'm still kind of doing the same things over and over again. So maybe to some degree, that's just the way the military is. It's just the same story with different faces. But I wanted to reiterate what you said earlier about being able to follow the film. What I loved is we were the students too, is we were watching these training missions or what it is they had to do. So it was very clear to me as an audience member, along with the students, what was required to do this mission. And I thought that was a fantastic way of pulling the audience and making us feel like we're part of the class. I think that's why we were stressed out. That's why I was stressed out. Like, I've been invested in this mission. I understand how difficult this is. I get what's at stake. And so when they do it, I'm stressed out. Like, I feel like I'm part of the test. I feel like I'm being tested as an audience member. And so I thought that was well done. And lastly, what I really love, this is a bit of a spoiler, so you haven't heard this, maybe plug your ears. What I love about it is how the mission does go askew, and Tom's on the ground. He's being shot at by a helicopter. It's like, whoa, we got a bit of a war film going on. And then they escape their situation. I don't really want to spoil it too much, but you know how they escaped their situation. I thought
it was a little far-fetched, but it was cute.
It was far-fetched and cute.
If they bring it right back to, you've got Rooster in the back seat.
Yes. Yeah.
Tom in the front with a tomcat.
Yes.
With a tomcat. Yes.
That was the fanboy, because that's my favorite plane.
Yes.
Just because of Top Gun. I just love the way it looks. And they brought it back and did that at the end. I was just like, okay, this movie can do whatever it wants now.
It's like Rocky putting on his old gloves and boxer shorts for one last fight. It's oh, here we are. We're back to the beginning.
And he beat 2 fifth-generation fighters in that old plane.
Yeah,
it's not the plane, it's the pilot.
So that's what I love about this film, is that we do the mission. The mission, quote-unquote, succeeds at some cost and some danger, and it's not over. And I was like, whoa, and you're not bored by that. You're not bored by that.
I have a question for you guys.
Okay.
Did you think he was going to die in this movie?
No, but I thought someone...
You mean before we watched it, or at that point when they...
before
I didn't think he was going to die. I thought somebody was going to die during this mission. So that's another spoiler. I'm actually surprised that nobody was dead. Like, there was no goose-like situation. So I'm a little surprised by no casualties on, quote-unquote, our side. So,
agreed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did want to point out, or see if you guys also had a similar take as me. And I think, for me, if this movie was not done with these amazing practical effects, if it were green screen or CGI, for me, that would have made it cheesy, and I wouldn't have given it 2 shits about this movie. I think that really adds, in addition to, like we talked about, all the cast, the story. I was much more invested in Maverick in the sequel. But what do you guys think about? Would this have still been a really wonderful movie if the effects weren't practical?
No.
You know what I mean? If it was all green screened.
It would not have been the same.
It wouldn't have been the same. I think that's a huge selling point. That's a huge selling point because people walk away from this. Like, that's what I meant is you feel like you're part of the classroom situation. You're part of these runs because you realize how aesthetically, yes, it looks amazing. This is all real. Like the shots are real. It's my understanding. I've been wrong before. That all that stuff was non-CGI. The only CGI they did was some of the decoration or the decals of the enemy warcraft. That was CGI'd on the planes.
I mean decal?
Decal. Sorry, we call them decals.
Oh, I'm just poking fun at our
No, but it's funny.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help it.
Decal?
Yeah, we call it decal.
Is it do you say aluminium?
Aluminum.
Or aluminum?
It's aluminum.
Aluminum, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's British, though, isn't it?
Yeah, aluminium. I don't know. Canadian and British, it's all the same, right?
Yeah.
Come on.
It's okay. It's okay. America, again, the vestige of the metric system. You guys are wonderful.
Yeah.
I love how you're so stubborn.
Yeah.
You're so stubborn. How many feet in a mile? I don't know. I have to memorize that. But how many meters in a kilometer is easy? It's 1,000. You know, how many? Everything's easy. Like how many centimeters in a meter? 10. Like it's all in tens. But you guys have to be. Hold on to that. Hold on to that.
Oh, I know. Well, we're so cocky about it.
What's your freezing point? What's your freezing point?
32 degrees.
Yes, but for
you're like, why isn't it zero?
Zero makes sense. Like zero is freezing.
Are right. Everyone else is right. We are wrong. We're just
you take
lazy
it easy
over here,
Ryan.
It's okay. You know why we don't have a big military? We don't need to.
Oh, exactly. No, but everyone likes Canada. Everyone likes Canada.
No, I love the U.S. I'm teasing. I don't want to get mad. I love like I said, 3 of my kids were born there when I was stationed with the U.S. military. I got to work with the U.S. military for 4 years. And I will, for the record, I loved my counterparts down there. They're amazing, very good at their jobs, very good people. And I really do love my American counterparts. And 3 of my kids are U.S. born. So I'm poking fun. Remember, I tease that which I like.
Yes,
I tease that which I love.
Yes.
And I tease Canada too. I mean, yeah, okay. All right. So, final thoughts here before we close, guys.
Oh, God, I feel like we barely scratched the surface.
I know.
But
I know.
as a Sylvester Stallone obsession freak over here, did you guys catch any, or did you find any points in the movie where, like, oh my God, that reminds me of any Rocky scenes? There were 2 for me.
Well, do tell, and then I'll be like, oh, of course.
There was, so the one is in Maverick, who is the better pilot? Didn't that remind you of?
All right, who's the better fighter?
What favor?
Apollo.
What favor?
Yeah.
You know, and like asking, and time gets everyone, blah, blah. So that reminded me of Apollo and Rocky's fight, that no one saw.
That's very good.
And then, I can't remember there was a scenario with Goose where he was trying to decide whether to send Goose or not, where Maverick was trying to decide to send Goose or not. And there was something said. Did I write it down? I have my notes make no sense, but there was something said that reminded me of, if you stop this fight, I'll kill you. Or basically no matter what, I will die for this.
Okay.
Don't stop me from dying.
It. That's good.
Sort of. And I can't remember.
Was he talking to Rooster at the time, or was this?
It was like, would you?
He goes, if I send him, he might never come back, and if I don't send him, he'll never forgive me.
He'll never forgive me. That's exactly what it was. Of course, a better person would have made that exact quote.
Jared
but that's exactly what it was.
Jared is. He's a top-tier podcaster. He's got the voice, knowledge.
Get out of here.
Don't you guys think that reminded me, or didn't that kind of...
I hear it now. I just didn't make those connections. But yeah, I like But those are kind of beats in films like this where...
Sure.
But yes, that there's definitely that similarity, that theme for sure, yeah.
Other than that, those are my final thoughts. Other than that, it was callback central. Like almost every scene, every character was a callback to the first movie, which was nice for people who like the first movie. But even if you didn't see the first movie, you could still very much enjoy the film. It's just a little extra nods for those of us who like people who've seen the first movie or very much like it.
Yeah. They gave you all the information you needed in Maverick to what occurred in Top Gun.
Are we getting a third film?
Well, they can't wait another 35 years to make it, for sure.
Yeah.
I hope they don't. Money speaks, but I hope they don't, just because I think it would be... There were, just like the first one, I guess, lots of bows put on. Like, it really had a pretty perfect ending, and I don't know if you would want to mess with it.
No, I think it's fair.
What do you guys think?
I'm fine with 2.
Me too. Yeah. I hope they're smart about this and realize they tie the bow on this. If they do another Top Gun film, it won't be with Maverick. Maybe that's why they call it Top Gun Maverick. Maybe they'll have
Top Gun Rooster.
Yeah.
Actually, I could see that as more of a spin-off. I say this is not rock. This is no Rocky level.
Right. This is a different type of film. It's a different type of film, yeah.
Most people probably thought the same thing. They're like, really? They're going to make a fourth or fifth one? And I'm like, bring it on.
Yeah.
He managed to do it well.
Well, we have 10 Fast and Furious movies, so anything can be done.
Yeah, no kidding.
I've seen, one of them, so...
Then you've seen them all.
Yeah, I tapped out at 4.
Yeah, they're horrible. They're horrible. Okay. Well, as always, this has been an absolute pleasure. This, again, is an episode of the last of the Action Heroes podcast show network. I call this kind of the flagship of the network because it's we're talking about films that aren't part of the Mount Rushmore of Schwarzenegger, Stallone, Van Damme, Bruce Willis, those type of characters. These are all the other films. Burt Reynolds is definitely on the... Burt Reynolds is a part of the...
Burt Reynolds was not in this film.
Yeah, he was not. He should have been. But before we go, Katie, I want you to plug where you're at, of course, and what shows you've also done on this network, what other standalone films you've done, and then Jared yourself. And we'll close at that.
Well, oh boy. So I'm lucky enough to join illustrious Ryan and Kyle on One More Round, the Rocky Series podcast, bi-weekly. That is... I love it so much. And then being part of the network, which is also so much fun, getting to do some stuff with our Mel guy. So let's see, we've done Romancing the Stone, Jewel of the Nile, which are not Mel, but just like specials. And then What Women Want and Bird on a Wire. And I'm probably forgetting something.
That's okay.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
You know what's fantastic, Katie? I want to say this too because you probably won't. Is you have been picked from other podcasts to guest on their shows from this network. I think it's fantastic because you've been asked to guest on other podcasts. You're getting to that point in your podcast stardom, so to speak, that you are now being plucked away from the network to join other shows to be a guest host on other shows. I think it's fantastic.
Well, thank you, and I say this has been. I feel so honored to join you two because I'm just a ham and egger over here.
Oh, no.
And you two are so well-spoken and such great podcasters. So thank you for indulging me.
You are fantastic.
That's very sweet of you to say. That's very kind.
Jared, tell us where we can hear your show and where your illustrious voice.
Okay. Well, my show is called The Hyperspace Podcasting in the 25th Century. I do it with my friends Matt and Mike. And this month or next, we will be releasing our 100th episode, which we're quite proud of. And it's a weekly show, semi-weekly. We do take breaks, but
you're allowed to.
Yeah, and of course, I have been on with Ryan as we talk about the the Burt Reynolds films, Malone and Heat.
Yes.
I recently re-listened to Heat, and it's a crazy time when we talk Reynolds for sure. So so please check out our show if you feel so inclined, and it's always a pleasure to be on with both of you. It's so much fun, and I hope we can do this again soon.
Yeah, we will, and you and I will be doing another Burt Reynolds film. Side note,
I love that.
Side note, it's harder to find some of those older films like Operation CIA. We talked about. I can't find it anywhere, and I'm not buying.
Never even heard of it.
I'm not buying a DVD for it, so you can't stream it. You can't rent it on YouTube. You can't even. I just want to rent it on streaming. And I can't. So it might not be the film.
I may have to sail the seven seas and see what I can find.
Okay, maybe there's some people we can contact to get a copy somewhere, but Operation CIA was. Anyways,
Jared, when are we going to get some more Lost coverage on hyperspace?
Oh, Lost coverage, eh?
I thought you said there was going to be more.
There will be, I promise.
Okay.
Holy cow, Lost.
Liked
we may
that
have to. We may have to have you on to talk about Lost sometime.
Oh God, that would require me, but it was good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Lost.
My kid is vacuuming upstairs in his suite, and it's coming over the microphone. So, all right, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone who joined us in Discord. Join our Discord. Check out the links below to how to join our Discord. So you can watch these things live and check out everyone else's show. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys again.